My name is Sarah. This is episode 33. It is a Saturday in April that I don't know the date of. I am in southern Maine recording as I'm visiting my parents while Rob is away. And I brought everything with me down here, which of course means I forgot some things. I have dogs on the deck. They're not quite as entertaining co-hosts as Alice of Fibertown, but they certainly do try. I'll show you. I've got Coey over here, who I'm surprised he's even out here. He's never on the deck. Let's see if we can see him. Hi, Co. Let's see. I'm peeking. There he is, sleeping in the sun. Hi, Coey. Do you want to do any tricks? Do you want to do any tricks? No tricks. No, Co's not really much into the performance part. He's much more into the sleeping and eating part. And Fern just went inside, which surprised me, but she may come back out and visit. So kind of be forewarned that she may come back out, and I'm sorry that this might be a little bit, you get to look at my parents' beautiful deck. Be forewarned that she may come out and bark. For those of you that may use earbuds, Fern is known for her exceptional alarm call and unexpectedness. So, as I was saying, I traveled down to my parents', so I didn't get to bring everything that I had hoped, mostly because I forgot, and I was packing up stuff that I didn't need, but I needed to record, and there's like 3 massive dogs in the back with dog beds and our Thule rack packed to the nines and then stuff packed behind our seats. I brought my wheel because I need to spin for this hop-along I'm participating in, and all my school stuff, my computer. So I regret not recording at my house, but I knew I needed to I wanted to get an episode out. I didn't need to. I wanted to get an episode out. Excuse me. And so this might be a little bit more scattered than normal, but I'm going to push on. That being said, I have works in progress, I have acquisitions and discovery, I have a Textiles in Time fiber trek, and I think that's it. So I'm going to get started. Did I welcome you? Welcome. Welcome to new and returning viewers. Thank you so much for joining me. Wouldn't be a podcast without viewership. And I think I always say this, but I think it's important to say, I always appreciate your feedback, your contacts, reaching out through Instagram or Ravelry. It really does make a difference in the my perception of the world, if you will. And it's greater and bigger than just whatever might be happening in my little moment. So, that being said, let's travel to Shetland, shall we? We're going to travel to Shetland for a lot of reasons. It's been kind of Shetland themed. I am wearing my windswept cardigan. This is out of Jameson in the artichoke colorway, and it is by Emily Wessels and her handmade in the UK. So Shetland wool. Then, for some reason, I must have just been channeling this. I decided I would knit baby cables and big ones too out of my Fula, which is all stash, Fula is a part of the islands of the Shetland archipelago, and this is in the Miauget colorway, which I have not been corrected, and I am, as you can see, almost done with the body. Fula has their own kind of unique breed of Shetland that hasn't been, I'm trying to think of the word that comes to mind, that hasn't really been worked with other breeds genetically, even other Shetland breeds from the main islands, I'm not sure if that's correct, but one of the things that they like to highlight on their website is that this is a breed that hasn't been that's been around for a long time without introduction of other genetics. That's what I'm trying to say. Whether or not that is all true, I don't know, but found it very interesting all the same. I know I wanted to say something about this, and I got lost in my own thoughts of how to talk about that. So, I knit this on a size 6 US, and I knit the whole thing on a 6, and it does not designate that in the pattern. And I also have knit the fitted version of this. So she has 2 versions when you purchase the pattern. A fitted and I guess what would be considered a straight. I'm knitting this with basically 0 positive ease, and the only thing I'm changing is as I increase out towards the hip and hemline, I'm adding an increase, so I just get a little bit more room. This sweater, I didn't do that. It fits perfectly at the hip, but it's a little bit constrictive, and I wanted this to have a little bit more of a hang, or a bit more ability to move around. So I'm hoping that addition will circumnavigate some of the bits. I mean, I love this sweater and it's comfortable to wear, but I'm always a little bit like adjusting it just a little, and I want this to have a little bit more ease at the hip. So I love the way these cables have worked up, and there's a cable on the arm. And Fern may come running out because I hear dogs barking. Oh, Coey's putting on his performance now. He's put his head up. So anyway, it's been quite a quick knit. It's knit top down, and I've been doing this in classes, on the road, when I can steal a bit of time. And what I've liked about it is I don't necessarily have to see a pattern. I just need to be able to count rows, and that can be done quite unobtrusively in class. This is really the only thing I've been working on. I'm at a point in a pair of socks I'm knitting that I need to turn the heel, and I just haven't set up for that, and I just haven't taken the time to set up for that, and I haven't taken the time to figure out how to do that, and so that will go back into rotation as soon as I can just sit down for a minute, which I'm hoping will be in a couple weeks. The other thing I've been working on is the Hapalong for the Knit British. I haven't actually cast on, which was supposed to be April 10th. And all these people I see on Instagram are casting on their Hansels, which is what I'm knitting, the half version, which was gifted to me, and I'm so excited to knit it, and I'm sitting here and I'm spinning and I'm spinning and I'm spinning. So I'm spinning 4 ounces of Hog Island to do that, and I'm hoping to achieve a fingering weight 2-ply with the Hog Island. I've talked about that on the previous podcast, and this particular breed, and what it inspired for this project. So the Hog Island is considered a critical breed in the United States by the Livestock Conservancy, and so as I was knitting this, I was thinking there's some contrasting color. I'm like, oh, what could I do for that? And then I decided I would incorporate all the critical breeds in the United States into the shawl. So I have ordered my Gulf Coast Native, which I'm going to talk about because I can't remember if I talked about it last time. I have some Navajo Churro, American Jacob, and I'm ordering Santa Cruz fleece to prepare. So I have to order that fleece raw. I can't find it in roving form. Santa Cruz, Hog Island, and the Gulf Coast Native are all critical. Jacob, the American Jacob, and the Navajo Churro are both considered, I believe it's endangered. So I think it goes critical, endangered, threatened, recovering. You can find out more information on the Livestock Conservancy website. It does list not just for sheep, but also for other breeds, chickens, ducks, cows, horses, etc. And you can go look at where they vary and how they define that, what that actually means. And perhaps on the next podcast, I can move that information along as well. So I received my Gulf Coast Native. I can't remember if I talked about it, but it's beautiful and interesting all the same. This is from Georgia, a farm in Georgia. I believe it's called Daydream Farm. Cindy Richardson. I hope you enjoy spinning the Gulf Coast Native wool. And she gives me her email, which I, of course, will email her back or send along some pictures. I don't know if I did talk about it, but I think in lieu of being redundant, should I have, what I wanted to say about this fleece is it is a little bit similar to the Hog Island, but I would describe this as plush. And it's short stapled. I don't have my Fleece and Fiber source book, so I can't talk about what Deb Robeson has to say about it, but I cannot wait to spin this. It is like a cloud in my hand. I think I have talked about this because I think I remember talking or actually saying that same thing. Could have been a daydream or... Yeah, so I'm really excited to knit with, to spin with this. So I'm very much motivated to get that Hog Island off the bobbins. Now this is, I'm just finishing the singles. I have to ply it. I know. And I'm hoping for about 600 yards. Oh, I know. So I'm working on it today. I was just working on it. I came out to record. I know I have some other bits and pieces to do, but it's getting there. Now, acquisitions and discoveries. I was so blessed this month. Hello. I had to plug in the camera. So I thought I would pick up at acquisitions and discoveries. And let's see. That is for Textiles in Time. I was really quite blessed this month. I had a lot of people sending along great, generous gifts, including my husband, who helped me celebrate my birthday with some yarn. I had been coveting this Scotland wool since I saw it on Instagram as enabled by Bella Socks. You might see some flitting chickadees. I've shifted my space. Hear the woodpecker? And I was inspired to knit a color affection shawl by Vera Valimaki by my friend Jody, who had knit an Icelandic version, she had knit a version using Icelandic yarn in varying cream, dark brown, and light brown, and I loved it. So when I saw the Scotland wool, I thought, oh, that would make a great color affection. What's up with the vowels today? And I was enamored with the concept of a 3-ply drapey monochromatic concept or idea. So I picked this up from the Gotland Wool Company, which is Grandview Farm. I believe that this is the only Gotland sheep farm in Vermont, and Kim was excellent to work with and talk to. I called her, I talked about the yarn, I talked about the project. I was able to be really thoughtful about how much I needed, and so thank you so much, Kim, for all your guidance, because I could not get hands-on. But I knew Gotland was a long stapled fleece, and it would have a lot of nice drape and would probably lend itself to shawl knitting. And these colors are what I picked up. So we have a charcoal, mist, and pewter. The color affection is knit as it's a crescent-shaped shawl that's knit in short rows, and it stripes with, people can choose whatever colors they want. I happen to be doing mine in a gradient of light to dark. So her tags are really sweet. Gotland sheep originate in Sweden, and they are one of the base genetics that the Stansborough Grey have used to build their breed in New Zealand that I knit the Burnham Wood capelet out of. So I'm really looking forward to putting this on the needles. I will be putting this on the needles in May. I have a class that's going to be meeting 4 days a week for 3 hours a day, and I figured this will be perfect knitting for that. So as much as I want to put it on the needles now, I'm saving that hopefully to get something going on the hap. Could be a toss-up between the hap and the color affection for that class, but needless to say, there will be something to knit that's big and kind of rote, but she also, I thought I had her cards here. I do. So she also does farm stays and Grandview Farm, experience rural Vermont life. Spin wool, collect eggs, feed the pigs, sit and relax on the porch. And here's her farm. So if you're looking to get away to Vermont and add a little farm flair to it, give Kim a call. So grandviewfarm.net, info@grandviewfarm.net. And that's the Gotland. I believe this is a 3-ply. worsted spun, worsted prepared. She told me that she does send it to England to be done because that mill is prepared to manage this particular fleece, and the woman recommended a 3-ply to give a little bulk and heft to it, and it is a lovely drapey yarn. I also received, that I forgot to bring with me, sorry, I have been going back and forth with Granny Sheep in Michigan and her Corriedale flock. I'm knitting a pair of socks with her yarn right now that she gifted me, and she has coned yarn, and I was thinking of making a sweater with her yarns. So she sent me samples, and I of course forgot to bring that package with me. But I am going to knit up a swatch to take part in Helen Stewart's Curious Handmade Show Me Your Yarn craft along. So a swatch along, basically. I think she doesn't want us to use the word swatch. But you basically are going to take an opportunity to share a favorite yarn, knit it in a swatch, post a picture, and you know, proliferate that for others to see and maybe have an opportunity to try as well. So I'm going to knit up the swatch in the Corriedale from Serenity Farm for that, KAL, and I am going to look for a sweater to match that. I was thinking of doing the Freya out of it, which is a Twist Collective, but I think I'm going to need like 1,400 yards. I don't know. I'm not 100% sold. So I think once I knit the swatch, to see what I like about it, I'm thinking something cabled, kind of outerwear with this particular yarn. Come here, Co. Come here. Co has since gone back inside to his bed, but he's standing up now. So I will be sure to show that to you on the next podcast, because she sent me the coned, what it looks like coming right off the cone from the mill, and then what it looks like once she skeins and washes it. It's two totally different species of yarn. So interesting. I also received as a gift from Saratoga Knitting an exceptional, of course they're all exceptional, but this particular piece will enable me to continue on with my Critical Breeds shawl with a little less investment than I thought I was going to have to do. So in order to prepare the Santa Cruz fleece, I was saying last time that I needed a pair of mini combs, and Saratoga Knitting was generous enough to gift me a pair that belonged to her that she wasn't using, and I am over the moon to have received not just these combs but Carrie's package, and you'll see more soon. So I was also gifted by Carrie the handbrake cowl by Kay, oh, the last name escapes me, Bakery Bears podcast. So I'm also been thinking about what am I going to knit with that. So lots of amazing things have been coming my way. So I got the pattern and the yarn from Carrie, Granny Sheep, and I got the combs from Saratoga Knitting. I got this message. I was in between clients in the clinic, and I wouldn't say I was feeling particularly down or anything, but, you know, just the ho-hum of March, early April in northern Maine, rugged commutes, and what I mean by that is light mist and rain, 33 degrees Fahrenheit, which is just at freezing, so basically 0 Celsius. Potential for black ice, do I go, don't I go, how are the temperatures changing, and the same thing at night, temperatures dropping, mist, you know, it just, and I think we got snow, and so that was really wearing on me, that decision making and that risk taking, and this post. I have a pair of these, would you like them? I will send them to you. Yes, I would like them. So I'm so excited. Thank you so much. Something big is flying over. It's a crow. So not only did I receive the combs, I also received a birthday package from Emily of Fibertown, who says, I got lovely cards from all these people. I realize that these are wee skeins, but how cool would it be to have an all hand-spun scrap project? Would be very cool. So I am, as you have looked at my stuff, it's like monochromatic. It's like very little color work. I mean, I do color work here and there, but I like the look. Well, I guess the striped shawl, but it's striped grays. So the concept of knitting a scrap something definitely would be pushing my boundaries. And it's something that Sarah Pomegranate and Emily both do. And I'll talk a little bit about that. I mean, Sarah did the asymmetrical cowl last summer or last spring, I can't remember now, and I knit the Cameo by Paulina P. in its stripes, asymmetrical shape, and I loved it. And Emily knit I think it's called Mesa Verde by Stephen West in her handspun Jacob, and I love it. And I would even consider it knitting it for myself, which when I originally saw that particular pattern by Stephen West, and most patterns that I see from Stephen West currently, they strike no chord whatsoever for me. They're admirable because they blast my little boxy world with out-of-the-box concepts, but I can't envision that beyond the wildness of it. And Emily has kind of made that concept a little bit more accessible to me. So, that being said, let's just look at what she sent. I got the rest of that Jacob yarn. If you watch Fibertown, which I would highly recommend, and I would highly recommend listening to Sarah Pomegranate. What was I just listening to? I think it was Curious Handmade, which I would also highly recommend. I talked about that swatch, right? I think she was talking about spinning. I can't remember. Maybe I was listening to the Knit More Girls, and they were answering a spindle question, and Sarah Pomegranate of Yarns at Yin, who just did a great episode on spindles. And I would recommend, if you're looking at spindling or starting to spindle, she did a really nice review. Anyway, back to what I was saying. The only thing I wanted to add to Curious Handmade, which is another great podcast that I love to listen to, is she's doing a thematic clip for her podcast now. I think last time it was sweaters, and this month it's yarn, Glorious Yarn. She gave me a lovely shout out on her last episode, maybe 2 episodes ago, and had very kind words to say about this podcast, and very appreciated, of course. But I would recommend taking a listen to that, because she has a really nice way of thematically creating informational and educational clips within her podcast. Her and Dark Matter Knits. So, I know, I will say that, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta go talk about that, but I will, if you're interested in some of my favorite podcasts, I will put them up in a thread. But you're probably already attuned to those. So this is Merity. This is, I'm thinking, going to end up in my Critical Breed shawl as the American Jacob. So thanks a million, Emily, for saving me having to spin more yarn. And then I got these lovely skeins, which I don't know if I can get them light. They're a backlit, unfortunately, but they are a mix. They're lovely. She got this, I believe, at the Maryland Sheep and Wool when we first met. So extra special. So bummed I'm not going to Maryland Sheep and Wool this year. And I'm trying not to let that catch up with me in any sort of way, but I hear everybody talking about it, and I'm like, oh. I am going to New Hampshire Sheep and Wool, however, with Claire of New Hampshire Knits. I'll be meeting up with her, and I'll be hanging out with Sarah of Upton Yarns. I know that Jen of the Downseller Studio podcast is looking at coming along, so we'll keep you posted. We've talked about a podcaster meetup, but I'll be there with my buttons and hopefully bags full of fleece and yarn. I also got this bag of Coopworth Cotswold in various states, and I just wanted to point this beautiful color out. Now, it's a little bit more coppery than this. I think that it's showing up on the screen, and again, I'm so sorry. It's the light, and then some beautiful just locks and some prepped locks. This is a 3-ply border Leicester, hand dyed. It's got some beautiful heft to it. It's gorgeous. This is a 3-ply Cormo from Reflections at Rockland's Handspun Farm. This is Yogurt, Locks, and Top 3-ply. She's been talking a lot about yogurt, or had been. This, oh yeah, this is the token bit of gray. Because gray. She thinks this might be thin. It says gray, so hope the light probably wouldn't make any difference. It's a beautiful gray yarn. Look at this. This is 50% Romney from Meduseld in West Virginia and 50% silk, carded spun, fulled single. Romney and silk. How awesome a blend is that? That's lovely. And then Corriedale Rambouillet Cross, Locks, and Top. Look how everything's sorted out and labeled. So, wicked fun box. More soulful stash. It's all hand spun, or could be hand spun, and wow, you know, based on the experience I'm having right now with hand spun, I mean, she's definitely a machine. I perceive her to be a machine because she's just always got beautiful stuff going on the wheel, coming off the wheel, getting prepped for the wheel, and I'm always like, why am I still spinning Hog Island? But it's coming. The other exciting piece of news I have and discoveries is I had a piece accepted, and a piece that I had knitted into the One Lupin first annual Fiber Arts exhibition, which will be June 5th through July 31st at One Lupin Fiber Arts. The show dates, as I said, are June 1st through July 31st. The show opening and reception is 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. on June 12th. And Monday, June 1st, the show will be open. So I'm really excited to participate in this. And they accepted my knitted piece, Orion's Belt, by Paulina P. It was knit out of Upton Yarn's 3-ply Coopworth and naturally dyed yarn from Buckwheat Blossom Farm. So that will be going up in June, and I will be sure to take some pictures and report on that. So that's kind of fun to have. I've never had a piece kind of exhibitioned before. And I know there's probably more, but I did not have my notes, as I stated earlier, and just flying a little bit by the seat of my pants. That being said, I want to talk a little bit about Fiber Trek and Textiles in Time. Part of the reason I haven't been able to record is I've been scouting for a shoot. I mean, there's always the life piece, but Rob and I have been traveling, and we traveled to Lowell, Massachusetts to visit the American Textiles Museum. This was last weekend. And Lowell, Massachusetts has what they call a National Historical Park. So there are buildings and pieces right in the city that belong to the National Park Service and are open for visitation to look at the industrialization of the mill industry from basically the 1820s forward. So Rob and I went down to visit the American Textiles Museum because we were scouting a shoot there. Tyler met us. We took a tour with Todd Smith, the development director, and Diane Fagan, the curator, and we had an amazing time, which I have plans to contact Todd and do an audio interview with him in the future. We are going back down to do our shoot, and I'm not going to tell you anything about what we're doing, but I will highly recommend a visit to the American Textiles Museum. I think what was really nice about visiting and getting a tour, as a textiles gal, I want to hang around with wool and spinning wheels and hand cards and that history and mill girls, but the Textiles Museum gave a much broader awareness as to what we can talk about when we talk about fiber. And so we're looking at carbon fiber. We were looking at material used to safety material, Kevlar, boats. I mean, all of this stuff is a fiber-based product. So it was really nice to have this story kind of laid out. You know, you're not just kind of hanging around yarn. And I think the piece for that, for me, is that it broadens an audience, right? So like, I mean, my husband is a craft person anyway, but if he wasn't, we're standing there, I'm looking at wool, yarns, cotton, the history, preparing it, and he's standing next to me looking at a Kevlar kayak, right? He loves to kayak. Oh, he's looking at a carbon fiber bike, right? And he bikes. So the two of us are standing in this one space and we're sharing a common experience, even though we have different veins of interest. And I think that's, for me, with FiberTrek, that's really what we want to capture, that FiberTrek should be not just for knitters and spinners and textile people, but it can encompass a wider audience. There's more to be said about fiber and how we use it and what it's used for and how every single one of us participates in that industry. So informed when I came out of there and very inspired. Todd took us back into the collections, which was really just like Indiana Jones-ish for me, and showed us all sorts of really cool things from the 1790s all the way up to some present day bits and pieces. So I had a marvelous time. I did not get to meet some of my viewers as I had anticipated, but I'm going back down, so I'll be sure to keep people informed as to when I'm going to be in that area. I was generously invited to a knit-in in Newburyport on the 25th. I'm not sure. I don't think I'm going to be able to make that, but again, I will just keep that all on my radar as I'm kind of moving in between Lowell and Portland. So I thought I would tell you a little bit about, for Textiles in Time, what we visited. The most awesome and inspiring piece was the Boot Cotton Mill. And this is a portion of the original mill. The full mill complex, I think, has been turned into apartments. And then there's this historic preservation part. So you go in, and behind glass, when you first walk in, is all of these electric looms running. I think there's 10 running. Maybe there's 10 running. I can't remember now what they said. Anyway, there would have been 200 running in this room. And I'm going to put a bit of video at the end. Actually, I'll put a bit of video right here. Okay, so why I took that wasn't so much, I don't know if you could see stuff, but was the noise. So imagine 200 of those looms going. But I just thought I'd give you a little background to the Boot Mill. So the Boot Cotton Mill was constructed from 1835 until 1910. It was one of many cotton textile mill complexes established in the growing city of Lowell, Mass. It represents one of the oldest surviving textile mill complexes in the U.S. Boot Cotton Mill's buildings were products of the earliest large-scale industrial planning project in America and were developed by the same industrialists who founded the city of Lowell. Among the planners was Kirk Boot, first agent of the initial textile company in Lowell, and for whom the Boot Mills are named. The Boot Mill Yard is regarded as one of the most architecturally significant mill yards in the United States. The 4 mills and the counting house were constructed in the 1830s. They survive as part of the interconnected series of mill buildings built over a 75-year period. The Boot Mill Yard illustrates the development of a single textile company in the early years of America's Industrial Revolution and how it paralleled the rise and decline of the northern textile industry. So I was going to see if I could get a picture, a drawing for you of the complex. Here we go. May not work as well as I'd like. Yes? I can't see. No? I might be able to insert a picture at the end. Anyway, we were in there and just walking around downtown Lowell, and I think originally Rob and I were like, well, we won't go. The museum had recommended we go. We were like, oh, I don't know. It was getting late in the day, and we hadn't eaten, and so we went and ate, and then we decided we would do it. And we got in there, and we were like silent because it was just so cool to be in that environment. Sorry about that. My card keeps pushing me out, so I can't remember what I was saying. I think I was talking about just the experience of being in the mill with all the pulleys and belts and electric looms, and that Rob and I were really glad that we went and took that in. So yeah. Anyway, I have a ton to say, but I wasn't organized enough to feel like I could put it out there and have it be meaningful. Of course, this has been a scattered edition with lots of ins and outs, and I don't even remember what I said when I started. I don't even remember what I said yesterday, so I hope if you're listening, I was descriptive enough of some of the knitting items and yarn items that you found it somewhat interesting. And you wouldn't actually have seen that face. I just made this face. And I think I'm gonna sign off. I think that's it. So till next time, bye.